Welcome to a Montober Extra. I'd like to thank Shaky for this video. He's someone that participates in pop culture cast screams, and he was talking about Psycho the other night, and it got me wanting to review it. A masterpiece of a film, although why it may not crack my top 10, it is one of the greatest movies ever made. And with the ending that the first time around, if you knew nothing about this movie, you didn't even come close to seeing coming. The story follows a woman who wants to help her boyfriend who's going into debt between a failing business and alimony to his ex-wife. So, she steals money that was given to her by her boss that a client wanted deposited, winds up at the Bates Motel, and we meet Norman Bates, who we at first feel sorry for because he has an overbearing, mentally ill mother. Eventually, the Marion Crane, played by Janet Leigh, gets killed, and the rest of the movie's about her sister and boyfriend trying to find out what happened to her. And whenever his mother gets brought up, he gets touchy about it, and it changes his demeanor. Private investigator looking for Janet Leigh gets killed by the mother, who, at this point, she's surprisingly quick for someone of her age, and this scene, when he gets killed, is probably the worst scene in the movie because the fall isn't executed well. Eventually, Marion and Sam Loomis, I mean, not Marion, her sister and her boyfriend Sam Loomis come to the hotel, and it turns out they find out the mother died, and this starts raising questions. And it turns out, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, the killer really is Norman, and he's a man that is so mentally damaged, he can barely be held accountable to his actions because he has such a split personality, and when the mother side takes over, it's really not him anymore. He's completely locked out. His mental perception of what his overbearing mother was takes over, and in her mind, he is her at that moment. And psychologically, it's brilliant. This concept was so far ahead of its time that Alfred Hitchcock even had to have a psychiatrist in the film at the end explaining Norman Bates' condition so the audience would understand it. Expedition done right, and the Norman side after the murders was the dutiful son covering up her actions. The scene where after he cleans up after the murder, and I love how he just throws the newspaper in the car, not even thinking there could be money in there. And he sinks it in the swamp, and he's nervously chewing on a piece of candy, and there's a scene where it looks like it's not going to go down all the way. Then it does, and just the way Perkins played that scene, and just the anxiety about, I gotta cover this up, and we are never once led to believe it's really him doing the killings. We're led to believe it was his mother, and it does that brilliantly. The cinematography in this film is amazing. The directing is what we come to expect from an Alfred Hitchcock film. And it's a great portrait of it's just a great character study of a damaged mind that got that way from a tortured upbringing, from an overbearing mother, to the point where he couldn't let it go. He couldn't live without her overbearing presence in his life even after she died, which it turned out he killed her and her boyfriend, poisoned them with strychnine, and the act of killing his mother is what pushed him over the edge, where he developed that split personality. Another awesome scene into the mind of Norman Bates is when she goes into his room, and it's the room of a child. We get the sense that even though physically he grew, his mom never really let him grow up. Again, this is one I give the highest recommendation to. Psycho, what are your thoughts down below? Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna go watch The Invisible Man for my next review. So this week will be a threefer.